according to BSC News, when it comes to the internet computer, the inflation basically has reduced by around half as of late. I'm not joking. I'll talk about this in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything, it's just my personal perspective. But again, BSC News says that under the Mission 70 overhaul, and keep in mind, Mission 70 is the strategic plan to cut the internet computer inflation by up to 70% by the end of this year. But besides that, it says that the internet computer has reduced annualized inflation from 9.72% to 5.42%, with a target of slashing total inflation by 70% by the end of 2026. So if we take a look at that right there, reducing annualized inflation from 9.72% to 5.42%, that is massive already. I mean, that's nearly half. And keep in mind, again, the goal of Mission 70 is to cut the internet computer inflation by up to 70% by the end of this year. And we're already seeing that the internet computer, again, I'm just going to say this, has reduced annualized inflation from 9.72% to 5.42%. So clearly, if we take a look at it, Mission 70 seems to be working as intended, seems like, at least in terms of the pacing. We'll wait and see what happens by the end of this year, but I'm saying so far, it has done quite wonders, right, when it comes to mitigating that inflation. And also on top of that, it showcases that the internet computer, its tokenomics, I think, are improving. Now, people like to say, well, why are they doing it now? Why didn't they do this like back then or something like that? Well, again, some projects, they take time to improve. And also on top of that, some of these projects, sometimes they may not think about it early on. But at least they're doing it now, though, so I can't really complain about that. And not to mention, if we take a look at it, the reason why this is pretty impressive is because imagine if, let's say, the market conditions were to recover, right? Like, let's say the market were to recover again. The internet computer now is in a much better position, I think, moving forward, at least in terms of the tokenomics, just because of Mission 70. And if we take a look at it, at this current pace, if Mission 70 does fully fulfill its intent, right, to cut the internet computer inflation by up to 70% by the end of this year, wouldn't surprise me at all. Just because we're kind of close, actually. Again, the inflation when it comes to the internet computer is already almost nearly cut in half already. So we gotta let that sink in, right? Again, people sometimes don't think about this. Now, people like to say, well, if this is going on, why is the internet computer still at around $2? Well, it's because, first of all, the demand isn't good as of right now. A lot of people are ignoring the price charts. And personally, for me, I can't really focus too much on the price charts anyways, because there isn't really much going on. I mean, the internet computer is still at around $2. What am I really supposed to say about that? Oh, you know, it's close to its all-time low? Yeah, I've mentioned that before. Its all-time low is $1.98. The internet computer is just slightly above $2. But in the meantime, though, instead of me obsessing over that because I can't even change it at all, so for what? I instead am going to focus on the updates that's going on when it comes to their computer. And evidently seen in terms of their inflation seems to be being reduced at quite a impressive pace as of late. But of course, if there is something that goes on when it comes to the price charts, I'll make a video on that. However, if there's really nothing to talk about when it comes to the price charts, instead I want to talk about the updates and whatever is going on fundamentally speaking. So again, if I take a look at it, Dfinity, they've been kind of cooking, right? In a sense where Mission 70 is just kind of one of the many things they're doing as of right now. If we take a look at Caffeine AI version 3, OIC version 2.5, the upcoming full-on launch when it comes to cloud engines, and then the upcoming launch of Multidex, which is their upcoming DEX, their exchange, which is basically decentralized, hypothetically. So if we take a look at all that right there, they're still doing things. And again, Mission 70 is just kind of the cherry on top. I think the real McCoy is like, you know, Caffeine AI version 3, cloud engines and all this. But you know what? A reduction in the inflation when it comes to this, I'm not going to complain. Because one thing we do know, though, is that the internet computer does not have a set maximum supply. Like, the maximum supply, in theory, is infinity, which kind of rhymes with Dfinity, coincidentally, I suppose, or maybe not so coincidentally. But at least they're doing measures that kind of mitigate that hypothetical inflation. Keep in mind, when people like to say, wow, it's game over when it comes to this because there is no set maximum supply, need I remind people that Solana, and let's say in the case of also Dogecoin and also some other massive projects out there, take a look at Near as well, right? Near is a pretty massive project out there that's focused on AI. Those projects do not have a set maximum supply either. But I don't see many people complaining about that when it comes to Solana, when it comes to Dogecoin, when it comes to, let's say, in the case of Near. I don't see many people complaining about that. But suddenly when it comes to their computer, they think it's like, whoa, it's so bad and all this. They think that it's really, really like so, I guess, disappointing. But we see that with some other massive projects out there. So it's really nothing new, in my opinion. However, yeah, besides all that though, if we take a look at it as well, the internet computer is actually, if we take a look at it in terms of the tokenomics, it's kind of catching up to the throughput, right? Because if we take a look at, for instance, the supply fixed lands while usage runs at record highs, in a sense where with the network recently clearing, and again, this is a post by BSC News, they say that with the network recently clearing over 98 million transactions in a single day, they are saying that the tokenomics are finally catching up with, or should I say, catching up to the throughput. So again, there are things going on, and I think in terms of pure fundamentals, I think the internet computer is way better than it's ever been before. And I think the majority of its improvements were actually in 2026. Evidently, as seen with Mission 70, Caffeine AI version 3, OIC version 2.5, and then we saw the demo, or should I say the demonstration not too long ago when it comes to cloud engines. I didn't see this in 2024 and 2025. I'm just saying. I get it. The price charts are not looking the best, but that's not an accurate way for me to kind of evaluate this as, right? Because let's just imagine this. What Dfinity is doing right now is preparing the internet computer for what could come moving forward. It's like, in a sense, in a pure random hypothetical, just to give an example as to what I mean by this, imagine if, let's say, I'm a restaurateur, and assuming I want to build a macaroni and cheese only restaurant. Imagine if I did that and I purposely did it in a town or a city that, let's say, the trend when it comes to macaroni and cheese, or should I say mac and cheese, hasn't really entered yet in such a massive way. Now, initially, when I make that restaurant, it's probably not going to do the best. Probably going to be, not doing so good. But imagine if, let's say, that wave when it comes to mac and cheese, for whatever reason, if it becomes trendy and let's say it becomes really viral, and if it were to enter into that specific town or city, guess what? That restaurant right there that is serving only macaroni and cheese, it's going to be receiving that wave and it's going to kind of go along with the ride. So by building that restaurant early on, it's proactive, right? It's not reactive, because being reactive means that in that particular example, once that wave and trend when it comes to macaroni and cheese enters that specific town or city, then I start building something, then okay, that's reactive, right? If I only start building a macaroni and cheese restaurant after that trend kicks in, then that's reactive. But when it comes to building it beforehand, it's being proactive. And Dfinity, as of right now, they're being proactive, evidently, again, as seen from what they're doing with Mission 70 and all this. So they're preparing for what could come moving forward. That's the thing. It's like, for instance, Jeff Bezos, when he made Amazon, it wasn't like it was a massive hit during the first day. No, I mean, it took quite a while, but because they were there quite early, and then because they built the foundation, once that e-commerce wave really set in, they were there to kind of catch the wave and go along with the ride. So I think what Dfinity is doing as of right now is that they're preparing the internet computer to the best of their capabilities. They're trying to improve it. So then later, if a lot of developers do enter, then the internet computer is going to have an easier time receiving that hypothetical mass scale adoption. That's the thing. As of right now, the market isn't doing the best, but I think Dfinity understands that. I think they understand that, hey, you know what? Things may not be the best as of right now, but one thing we do know, though, is that we can prepare. That's the thing. It's like watching the World Cup. When it comes to soccer, I'm such a fan when it comes to the World Cup, by the way. I don't usually watch soccer, though, but the World Cup does interest me. But besides that, these athletes that are playing when it comes to the World Cup, they do the training beforehand, primarily speaking, right? All the hours, all the years they put in, but it showcases when they're playing soccer, or should I say football. So that's the thing. They do all the prep work before, all the preparation, and then it showcases later on. So it's no different here. They're just preparing when it comes to Dfinity. That's the thing. There's really nothing else I can do, but I'm just waiting patiently That's pretty much about it. However, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very spectacular day.